Good evening. This is Two-Way Tonight. And as we come on the air this evening, breaking news from the White House, an email about the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And the headline reads, and I'm quoting, BLS has lengthy history of inaccuracies and incompetence. You could say the same thing about this show. So very pleased that the White House didn't target me with that accusation. In any event, that's one of our big stories that we'll cover this evening. The president, in the wake of this morning's job numbers, not just for the last month that were down and pretty depressing, but also revised numbers for earlier in the year, decided rather than to rail against that or encourage the American people that the things will get better, he decided to fire the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. We'll talk about that. And then just moments ago, as I said, they put out this press release talking about this. Her name is Erica McAntifer. And according to the White House, she's a Biden-appointed commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. She's eroded public trust in the government agency charged with disseminating key data used by policymakers and businesses to make consequential decisions. Now, if you're on the left, you're going to say outrageous that Donald Trump fired some government official because he didn't like her data. And if you're on the right, you're going to read this press release and you're probably going to say, well, they make a compelling case that she's a partisan who cooked the books to hurt the president politically. You know me, I got no idea. Because of my history of inaccuracies and incompetence, I'm not sure what the truth is, but we'll see what we can do here. We'll see what we can find out. Bunch of stuff to talk about, a lot related to the economy and the job numbers. The president spoke, as we thought he might, on his way to the chopper, Marine One. He stopped and talked to the press a lot about jobs, talked a little bit about Russia and Ukraine. We'll play that for you. And for those of you who cannot get enough of the Maxwell story, Ghislaine Maxwell. Am I saying her name right now? Ghislaine? Is that how you say it? Ghislaine.
That's how it's commonly spoken, though. Some people say she calls it Jellin. I don't know.
Jellin. All right. Well, maybe someday I'll interview her and I'll ask her. That'd be my first question. Ms. Maxwell, how do you pronounce your first name? No, Salena did not get bumped. Salena will be here. Maybe she's already here listening and thinking, what kind of show have I agreed to? #1 New York Times bestselling author. But Salena will be here. Salena Zito will be here in a moment. Her book, Butler, the essential summer read about the assassination on President Trump's life. Salena, by pure happenstance, was there that day and as close to the president as almost anybody physically when he was shot, and wrote a book. And it's not just about the assassination, although it is widely considered the definitive account of that, but it's also a product of Ms. Zito's unparalleled understanding of Trump America. So she'll be here in a moment and she'll participate in whatever kind of conversation we have. And then, of course, you have the opportunity to participate because this thing is called Two-Way, not Mark Blabs. So later in the show, if you've got your hand up, if you're on the Two-Way platform, you have a good chance to be called on. If you're watching and you want to be in on the action, raise your hand. This morning on this morning meeting, for those of you who were there, 4 new people who'd never spoken on the morning meeting before, and I think 3 who'd never spoken on the platform. Spectacular. So if you're here on Two-Way and you've never raised your hand tonight, as Rod Stewart would say, could be the night. And if you're watching on X or Yahoo, what do you call that? YouTube. Don't raise your hand and don't put smack in the chat. Even when we're dealing with things like the firing of the head of the BLS, no smack in the chat. Peace, love, and understanding. Let's just all try to get along here. Often I'm asked, Mark, what do you do between the morning meeting and Two-Way tonight? Just sit around and prepare for the next show? No, I do lots of other things. For example, today, you might notice, got my hair cut. Fell asleep for about 10 minutes. That was an incredible nap. Was late for a meeting. And I spent a lot of time reporting on a big story that hopefully by 7 Eastern I can tell you about. Maybe you have to wait till Monday. So I did a lot of different stuff. And I also got a lot of incoming emails about the firing of the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And that informed the thing I said earlier. Some of you think this is one of the biggest scandals of the Trump administration. And some of you think it's what we call it the Sunday bar, just desserts. And again, hopefully we can sort through that a little bit. So let's see. Trying to decide if I want to run through the news without Salena or with Salena. I guess part of the answer to that question would be if Salena's here, and she is. Let's bring her in. She can help me with the news because Back in the day, before she became a grandma, she was a newscaster at Channel 3 in Harrisburg. Maybe I'm mixing her up with someone else. Salena, welcome in. I'm just kidding. Thank you for joining. I was only kidding. How's everything going with you?
Oh, living the dream, always running around.
Yeah. So I have to say, without sounding too self-aggrandizing, ain't nothing quite like being a #1 New York Times bestselling author. I can say, as someone who's had the pleasure of that experience a couple times, so you're a little behind me still. Let's not get too big for your britches. It's an incredible feeling. A #1 book in the country, according to the most liberal and derided paper from Trump's America, but respected for their bestseller thing. So how has your life changed now that you're #1 New York Times bestseller author? For instance, can you get better restaurant reservations? Can you get upgraded? You get upgraded on your Delta flights. Just tell us a little bit about how Butler has changed your life.
Butler has changed my life outside of just being really busy, which I'm always really busy. I guess it's a lot more on air, and I can't wait to get back to writing because that's what I love to do. It's very humbling, and I'm incredibly grateful because this book is successful because of basically the middle of America, right? And to be on that list, when I think of some of the greats that have been on that list, let alone on the top of the list, like you, Mark, who's in the book, is just, it's very humbling. I'm so grateful. I just keep saying that because that's how I feel.
Yeah. How's your publisher feel about you giving them a #1 New York Times bestseller?
They are over the moon.
Yeah.
Absolutely over the moon.
Did they buy you a Corvette or anything?
No, but you know what happened today is that you mentioned that my Jeep died.
Really?
And, yeah.
How long you had it?
11 years.
11 years. That's a long time. How many miles? How many miles? How many miles?
300,000.
300,000. That's enough. I don't know. Somebody Google that. How many miles does it usually take for a Jeep to die? 300,000 seems like a lot. In any event, congratulations to you. Grateful to you for coming back. I thought when I asked my colleague Lori Blackford to ask you back, I thought Lori would say, well, Selena's personal manager says she's now a #1 New York Times bestselling author, and she only does shows with audiences of several million. So I'm honored that you'd come back. Honored you'd come back. You've done lots of media. I'm sure I missed some of your appearances, but tell us about some of the shows you've been on that have been memorable besides this one.
So what I love about your show and Megyn Kelly, Meghan McCain, all of these podcasts have really gives you the ability as a storyteller to actually talk about the story in a very meaningful way. And I think it's interesting to me to, sort of be this reporter in the middle of somewhere, Pennsylvania, right? Barely passed community college. In fact, I didn't even technically finish community college. I was a waitress. I worked in a sewage treatment plant. I've been a shampoo girl, right? To be able to talk about it with more nuance and I don't know. I think new media has been so helpful in lifting this book up because I'm able to talk about the people that have changed American politics.
Yeah. I'll tell you, of all the jobs you said you had, the one that our friend Megyn Kelly will assure you I can never have is I can never be shampoo girl. I'll never be shampoo girl. Again, just so proud sounds condescending, but just so excited for you that you've written this book, and you and I both know so many authors who've written books that they just pour their heart and soul into, and sometimes over years. You wrote this relatively quickly, and then they don't sell. And I always tell people, if you're going to write a book, you got to spend at least as much time thinking about how you're going to sell it as you do writing it, because it's a shame to pour your heart and soul. Books are the hardest thing in journalism. Pour your heart and soul in it and then it not sell. So I'm very happy for you. Now, here's a little education on the book business. There's some new models out there where you don't get an advance, but most publishers don't pay in advance. You get it in 4 tranches. You get a quarter when you sign your contract, a quarter when you deliver the manuscript, a quarter when the book is published, and then a quarter of the advance Usually it's after a year of publication or
Yeah.
when the paperback comes out, whichever is first.
Right.
And then if the book sells well and the publisher makes back the advance, so say books cost $10 and your advance is $100. If they sell 11 books, then you start getting about $1 a book
Right.
once they make their money back. Did you have that kind of traditional advance?
Yes, that's exactly how it worked.
Okay. So have you already made back your advance? Are you getting royalties yet or not yet?
I found out today that I have made back my advance.
That's a huge thing. I'm so glad to have you here on that day, because for an author, if you get a big advance, and Salena probably got close to what Joe Biden got, like 10 million. No, she got less. So you get a big advance, you get to keep it no matter how many copies you sell. But the real payday is if you make back the advance, and then every sale you get is yours, like $1 a book.
I don't even know. I just literally found out.
It's probably like $1 a book. So I'd urge all of you now, because now that she's made back her advance, every book that gets sold, Salena gets more money. So if you haven't bought the book yet, please go buy a book, confident that some of the money's going right to Selena's pocket, and could buy her a new Jeep, which she needs. So
I need a Jeep.
right now, go on Amazon or barnesandnoble.net, whatever that thing's called, and buy a copy of the book, please. It's a great book about. It's a compelling and riveting account of the assassination attempt against President Trump. But again, Salena might be a little embarrassed when I say this, but she knows it's true. There's no better chronicler of Donald Trump's America, of how he got elected, the broad currents in not just in MAGA, but in America: education, immigration, the economy, cultural issues. Salena has her finger on this, understanding of it, because luckily for her, she doesn't live in Washington or New York. She lives in real America, and she's just right place, right time. She's the premier chronicler of all this. So if you haven't bought Butler yet, tonight, go buy it and read it. And Salena will come to your home and autograph it once you can afford a new Jeep. She'll do a driving tour wherever you live. You'll just send us you send us a Google Map pin, and she'll be there. Well, maybe not, but you should buy the book. It's a great book, and it's an important book. Now let's run through some news. Salena, you're with me?
I'm with you.
I joked you about being a local anchor, but I want you to be color commentator. So okay. I'll just read a headline, and you just jump right in and say, "That's exactly right, Mark. The firing of the head of the whatever you want to say." So here we go. As I said, the president fired the woman who was running the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Number one, please. Here's the Wall Street Journal headline. It's currently leading a lot of news websites, including the Wall Street Journal. Earlier this morning, the data came out. The president didn't like the data, and rather than just swallow the data, he decided to fire her. I got to say, put up the Journal headline when you can, please. Number one, I have to say, if you know Donald Trump, this shouldn't surprise you in the least. He doesn't like her, and it's true. The making of government data is not it's not some science, right? There's variables involved, but most presidents wouldn't fire the head of the government agency if they didn't like the data. So do we have number one to put up, or is it going up?
It's up.
It's up, but for some reason I'm not seeing it.
I don't know. Trying to figure that out. It's up.
Let's see. Okay. There it is. Trump orders firing of statistics chief after weak jobs data. Here's a picture, number two, of Erica, interesting last name, McAntifer. There she is. And here is Donald Trump on Truth Social explaining, this is number three, please, 2 slides. First one, explaining why I fired her. Well, I'm never going to be able to read that. I can tell you that. Let's see if I can make it bigger.
Me either.
Big enough that I can read it. I can't read that. Anyway, he fired her, and he accused her of being basically partisan. So, Salena, what do you think of this? What do you think of the president's decision to fire the government official in charge of the stats because they didn't like the stats?
To your point, not shocking. To a point that we rarely get to in discussing American politics. I think there's nuance there. What's the nuance? Well, you look at the jobs reports that came out under Biden, and then would revise. So they were never ever what they initially came out to be. Not, I shouldn't say never, but there was always sort of a walk back, right? And people saw that, and they noted that, and it is just one of those, you know, just tiny layers of things that people believe are rigged, right? There is a foot on the scale, or a thumb on the scale, whatever way you may think of it. And so I'm not surprised, and the nuance to me is, well, this is how people are going to look at it.
Okay, that's a great explanation, and here's an explanation from someone else who knows Donald Trump well. This is number 4, Donald Trump explaining his decision.
Job report today were rigged.
Oh yeah, I think so. And if you look at before the election, the same kind of thing happened. And I think you'll see some very interesting information come out. But you have to have honest reports. And when you look at those numbers, or when you look at just before the election, and then after the election they corrected it by 800,000 or 900,000 jobs, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, he made my point.
Yeah, I knew the two of you would be like-minded about this. Hold on, I'm just trying to book a guest here at the last minute. A friend of mine interviewed Donald Trump today. I'm trying to get him to come on and tell us about his interview. We'll see if I can get him. Did you say cool or who?
No, I said cool.
Okay, my friend Rob Finnerty, who works at Newsmax, had an Oval Office interview with the president today, and trying to get him on. So stand by for that. All right. So that happened. And again, maybe some of you will have an opinion, and maybe even an educated opinion about this firing. I'm just not in a position to sort it out now, but that's get people talking about that a lot. The Fed, today, one of the Fed governors, Adriana Kugler, announced that she was going to leave early. I think she was supposed to leave in January, I think, but she says she's going to leave now, which would open up a seat for the president to fill, require Senate confirmation. And there's talk that he may fill it with the person who he wants to replace Chairman Powell. We'll see about that. Here's Steve Murrin, who's the head of the Council of Economic Advisors on MSNBC today, talking about Trump versus Powell. Number 6, please.
Seen time and again is that President Trump has a great track record on these calls. President Trump was right in 2018, 2019 when he said there was no inflation and no need for higher interest rates. And eventually, Chairman Powell caught up to him. President Trump was right in 2021 when he said, hey, inflation is going to be out of control. We need higher interest rates now. And the Fed dismissed it as transitory. And eventually, Chairman Powell caught up to President Trump's view. What we're seeing now in real time is a repetition once again of this pattern, where the president will end up having been proven right, and the Fed will, with a lag and probably quite too late, eventually catch up to the president's view.
All right, Salena, this is not exactly on point, but what would you say Donald Trump's biggest mistake in this term is so far? What's been his biggest mistake?
His biggest mistake. I don't know. That's like the most honest answer I can give you.
Okay, well, keep thinking about it. If something occurs to you, just hit your buzzer and I'll call on you.
Okay.
I thought of that because I know I'm not the first person to make this point, but the people around the president, and this is true of all presidents, but it's particularly true of this one. They just talk about him like he's never made a mistake in his whole life. Like he's
that's not a good thing to do.
Smartest, most perfect decision maker. All right, there's some stuff going on with Russia that's super important, but I want to jump to number 11, please. Ghislaine Maxwell was moved from her relatively secure prison in Florida. This is a New York Sun broke this exclusive to a minimum security prison in Texas. Now, this happened on a Friday. Her lawyers confirmed that it happened. Her lawyers wouldn't say why, and the government will not say why. The Justice Department runs the Bureau of Prisons. They won't say why. They're not responding. It seems weird that they would do this and not say why. Presumably, eventually, we'll know why. My friend Jessica Reed Krause on her Substack has the best reporting I've seen on sort of how the people in the prisons are reacting to this. I recommend that to you. So, Salena, you're a reporter. You like information and explanation and clarity. Doesn't it seem odd to you that this woman would be transferred to a minimum security prison and there's no, she's much in the news with no explanation? Does that seem odd to you?
Yeah, of course it seems odd. This is, this is the woman in the center of the whole Epstein saga. So, why we don't know anything is interesting at best. However, that doesn't mean it's not coming in short order. I can't imagine you letting that linger out for days, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to continue that conversation.
Yeah.
So I would expect that we would have an answer sooner rather than later.
Yeah, although it's August and it's a Friday night, and clearly, I mean, if this were sane and rational and there wasn't some monkey business here, they've moved a convicted sex offender to a minimum security prison, as I've read about it today. I don't know this is true. She didn't belong in a minimum security prison. And Jessica Reed Krause suggests that the people in the minimum security prison are not happy that she's there. That's Jessica's reporting, I believe. I read it quickly, but I think that's true, that part. And again, I'll just say, whatever the explanation, and maybe there's a great explanation that would satisfy us all, whatever it is, as a reporter and as a citizen and as someone always putting the victims of Maxwell and Epstein front and center, because some of the families are upset. I just find this abhorrent that they would do this and not explain it. Like, obviously they didn't move her like spur of the moment. It wasn't like, you know, somebody in the Texas prison said, "Hey, I just got off the phone with my friend in the Florida prison. Just got off my friend with Texas. Let's get a flight." Like, I don't know, flying her there is a whole thing. So they had time, and they should have explained it. There should have been not just a press release. There should have been a press conference with the Attorney General or the head of the Bureau of Prisons, and they should have explained, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And I'll say, to state, Salena, I'm the master of the obvious, as you know. This case does not lack for lack of transparency. It does not lack for conspiracy theories. It does not lack for unorthodox conduct by government officials, seemingly to favor Epstein and Maxwell over many years. So to add to the list of things that people are going to scratch their heads about and say, what is up with this? To add to that at this point in the story is just, it's silly and stupid, but it's not good government.
Yeah,
Salena.
I would agree with everything that you said. Look, as people have been talking about Epstein and, you know, sort of saying how much it matters, you know, what about these files, I would say a couple of things. That rollout with binders was dumb. That it's the most important issue to voters. It's not. In fact, it falls far below the surface. Even CNN's polling showed that. However, this is weird.
Yeah.
And so I would love to believe that this is going to be answered in quick order.
Yeah.
And it has to be. Like, it has to be.
And just to be clear, as I understand it, the information came initially from prison officials who leaked it anonymously. And then it's been confirmed on the record by her lawyer, who refused to say why. But this does not sit well with me, and I'm sure with many others. And again, it doesn't sit well with the families of some of the victims or alleged victims. Okay, a couple more stories, then we're going to get to your questions. So please, if you're here in the two-way platform, you want to be in on the conversation, please raise your hand. Okay, Russia, president posting number 7 on Truth Social, that he's ordered 2 nuclear submarines to move towards Russia. That's the wrong one. That's about the Smithsonian. Number 7. And then he talked about his posture towards Russia as he was leaving the White House today. This is number 8, please.
Being deployed a nuclear submarine.
Oh yeah, well, we had to do that. We just have to be careful. And a threat was made, and we didn't think it was appropriate, so I have to be very careful. So I do that on the basis of safety for our people. A threat was made by a former president of Russia, and we're going to protect our people.
You know, it's interesting, Salena, the former president of Russia, Medvedev, I never know how to pronounce his name exactly.
I interviewed him once.
Yeah? Where was that?
At the G20 in Pittsburgh.
Oh, all right. Well, anyway, once upon a time, that guy was seen as kind of like a warm and cuddly, like not as evil and anti-American as Putin. And yet now he's become like Putin's, you know, whatever the word you use is, Putin's henchman.
Yeah.
Salena, where do you think this is headed? The president's escalating anger at Putin and now escalating militarily by moving these nuclear subs. Where the sense of where this is headed?
Yeah, so I think we're all pretty clear in the fact that Trump does not like war at all, right?
Yeah.
Not at all. He doesn't believe in sending our treasure there. However, he also is all about protecting treasure as well, meaning the people, the country, the continent. And he has lost patience with Putin. He really, really wanted to make some sort of deal happen so that this war over there ends and this escalation ends, and it's not happening. And he is not obviously afraid to show, look, we're not messing around, okay? So I'm not surprised that he sent the nuclear submarines over there. I think it sends a very, very strong message. And so, I think that's where his head is right now.
Okay, good. There's some other smaller stories that I'm going to skip over because so many of you have your hands up, and really the opportunity to speak to New York Times #1 best-selling author is not something that comes around every day. So we're going to get to questions for Salena in a moment, but we have to cover the American Eagle Sweeney story because I've not heard you weigh in on that.
I've weighed in.
Yeah, I haven't heard you do it though. Here we go. American Eagle for days hadn't put out a statement, and then there have been some statements put on the interweb and social media that turned out not to be actual statements from the company. But this is, I'm told reliably, on their widely followed Instagram site. Here's finally today a statement from American Eagle. Put that up. I'm going to try to read this one with my aging eyes. I think I can. Make that a little bigger. Sydney Sweeney has great genes, and it's always been about the genes, her story. We'll continue to celebrate how everyone wears their American Eagle jeans with confidence their way. Great jeans look good on everyone. I couldn't imagine a blander statement, but obviously they're not backing down in any way. So Salena, if you were to explain to some Dutch professors who were visiting Pittsburgh and they said, Ms. Zito, we do not understand this controversy. Attractive woman in an ad for a product. Why is this causing so much controversy in America? How would you explain that to the Dutch professors?
Okay, well, first of all, it's not a controversy except you're on the very online, right? This is the most ridiculous thing that I've seen in a series of ridiculous things that I've seen happen. Why are people writing 3,000 word think pieces on jeans? First of all, that's a Pittsburgh company. So I have bought American Eagle jeans since they went into business.
Do they manufacture in Pittsburgh, or they just a corporate? Yeah,
Pittsburgh company.
But the corporate headquarters and manufacturing in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Did not know that. All right, that's a whole new wrinkle.
Awesome. Second of all, I don't know where the racist thing comes from. First of all, because I'm older. I grew up in the 70s. And I grew in the high school I went to was, 60 or 70% Black. And that was basically our uniform, right? We were one jean jacket away from having a Canadian tuxedo every day. It's just what we wore: jean shirts and jeans, or flannel shirt and jeans.
No, wait, hold on one second. Are you saying wearing jeans and a jean jacket is called a Canadian tuxedo?
Well, if you wore a jean shirt, jean.
Yeah, that's called it's called a Canadian tuxedo.
Did not know that.
Never heard that in my life.
Oh, you need to Google that.
Yeah, no, I will. I could piece.
At 3.
I got 2 of the 3. I don't think I own a jeans jacket anymore. But people would do that on purpose. You're saying?
Yeah, it's called
all the same colored denim, or a little mix and match.
It just depends on how much you got in your pocket.
Okay. All right, keep going. Sorry.
And in terms of the whole jean play on word, go and get your genealogy done, or your DNA checked, because all of us have genes that are from all over the world, and it's it's just so silly to use words like racist and Nazi they are completely diluting the meaning of those words when she's just wearing jeans.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. My mind is blown.
Yeah. I've said if I write a book about this era, I'd lead with this story. You're right. Google's filled with Canadian tuxedo. Is it a denigrating term for Canadians, or they'd proudly cop to that?
It was like sort of like a joke, like denigrating maybe 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Now it's a point of pride. I mean, take a look at Britney Spears. She wore a Canadian tuxedo once to some sort of awards.
Yeah.
It's a point of pride at this moment.
Salena, I've been asked, is your book still number one, or just was number one for a week and now you've dropped?
It is number 4 or no, this week number 7. So 3 weeks on the list. This week number 7.
So what'd you debut at?
1.
You debuted at 1 and then you were like 4 and now you're 7?
Yeah.
All right, folks, let's get the book back up to 1.
Come on, guys.
Let's all buy copies of Butler. All right, now to your questions for Salena. And the great thing is you can ask about the topics we've discussed this evening, including Canadian tuxedos, or anything you want, because Salena is like a Jeopardy champion. You cannot stump. You cannot stump her. So here we go. Monica, I want to call on you, but I don't see you on camera. Are you there? Yeah, there you are. All right, let's bring in Monica. Let's see. Here we go. Monica, welcome in. Unmute. Tell folks who don't know where you're walking and what's on your mind for #1 New York Times bestselling author, Salena Zito.
Well, actually, what I wanted to comment on was a question that you had for Salena, which was, what did you think was Trump's biggest error so far?
Yeah. You want to comment on that?
I think.
Yeah,
I would like to comment on that. So I'm in Florida, in Northeast Florida, originally from Canada, and lived in New York for 10 years. And
What part of Canada?
Thought I was born in Toronto, but grew up on the West Coast. And I've lived in pretty much every corner of the United States for periods of time.
Are you either in the witness relocation program or on the lam?
No, I'm out walking.
No, I don't mean right now, but like, why are you moving around so much?
Business for my work. I travel for my work.
All right.
So what I thought from my perspective, the Epstein, him jumping in at that, when they had the cabinet meeting, and he jumped in to interrupt the reporter asking about Epstein. That was the beginning of a really negative, and not so much for the issue of Epstein, because to me, Epstein situation is emblematic of people's, now since the time of Bernie and when Trump was coming up, people have lost more and more respect and faith in institutions. And he ran on a platform of bringing back trust in our institutions and transparency. And the way in which he answered it and his behavior since, over the last few days, his tone around it has changed some. That, what I feel, was a big issue because it impacted everyone in the country, not just his base. This is something that independents and Democrats have an issue with the elites. And I think that was a big misstep. He's had a few little things that have irritated the base somewhat, but to me, that was something that really has jarred with people. And I don't think it's going away. Yes, what Epstein did was terrible. Who knows what the truth is, because I don't know if we'll ever truly find out. But we know that there are lies and miscommunication around the story. And so it's just, I really do think that that's going to have a lasting impact because it's not going away right now.
Monica, thank you for that. A couple things before I return to Salena. First of all, do you know this expression, Canadian tuxedo?
Yes, I do.
And is that something Canadians wear with pride?
They do, especially in the prairie states.
Yeah. And is it generally the 3-piece, the shirt?
It's
jacket?
usually just the jacket, and what they have is like a special little tie that is like I don't know what you call it. It's got the silver buckle,
like a bolo tie.
Like a bolo tie with the leather. So they have like a button-up shirt with one of those things on, and then the jeans and jacket.
Yeah. All right.
I grew up with my family having a fishing cabin in Ontario.
Oh, okay.
That they still go to, and it's called the Kawartha Lake region. So that's not far from Toronto, maybe like an hour and a half north.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Monica, I'm going to ask you a question and then ask Salena the same one. Do you have a sense of why Donald Trump has handled this so badly? Either what's your gut on why he's handled it the way he has?
I do believe, I don't, my personal sense, and I don't know this for sure, this is just kind of a sense I have, that this has more to do with Jeffrey Epstein's ties to intelligence communities.
Okay.
And that's the piece that he knows. And that's the piece that I think has got him riled up, because it may be not something he can ever talk about. And his hands might be tied. And I don't know the truth. That's just my sense.
That's your sense. That's good.
Yeah.
Salena, how do you think the president's handled it? And if to the extent you agree with Monica and many others that there's something a little off about how he's handled it, what would you attribute that to?
That's a really interesting perspective. I never really thought about that. Thank you, Monica. I don't know why he doesn't want to address it. I suspect it has nothing to do with him having any direct involvement, but something that he just can't talk about, to her point. I never thought about it that way, but that's really interesting. When this first blew up, I was really interested because and Mark, I suspect you're the same way. You sometimes feel like you really straddle two different worlds, right? There's the world that's on X, and then there's the world that you walk around in. And so when this first blew up and people were mad online and that's all they were talking about, I happened to go to a rodeo because I love rodeos. And so I thought, well, I'm going to get there early and I'm just going to talk to people and see how elevated this was to them. And I really struggled to find anyone that was at a fever pitch. But this latest thing that you just pointed out, Mark, I don't know where it takes it. So I guess I need to do more reporting on it.
Okay, Monica, thank you. Grateful to you for being part of Two Way. Enjoy your walk, and thank you on the tux issue. I'll just be embarrassed all night. There's apparently something everybody but me knows. All right, let's bring in Jim. Jim, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are, what's on your mind for #1 New York Times bestselling author Salena Zito.
Canadian tuxedo salutations from Chicago, Mark.
City of the big shoulders.
Yeah, exactly. And you need a big denim jacket for those big shoulders.
Yeah.
I had a question for you about the Federal Reserve, but before I do that, I did want to ask you, more McLaughlin. More is better, and if you've got a Dana Carvey McLaughlin, that's even better than that.
You want me to just be doing like constant McLaughlin references?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
He is the OG, isn't he? The OG of modern talk shows, and he should be celebrated all the time.
Quickly, Jimbo, Rimbo. I can do it, not that well though, but okay.
I want to ask you about the Fed. You've been saying that your sources say that it won't be Kevin Warsh. I work on Wall Street. Everybody on Wall Street thinks it's going to be Kevin Warsh.
Oh, I know.
Could you expand on that a little more?
I spend half my day knocking that down. Look, I don't rule out it's Kevin Warsh because, again, we're dealing with the decision maker named Donald John Trump. He can pick whoever he wants, and maybe he will. And there are many people in the president's life who want him to pick Warsh. The reason I don't think he's going to pick Warsh are threefold. Number one, I think he's going to pick someone who he trusts like a lot, that they're not going to be a David Souter as to George H.W. Bush. Like no surprises, nothing unpredictable. And he just doesn't know Warsh that well. And he can come secretly spirited into the Oval Office 50 times and meet with the president. He's not going to, I don't think, develop that level of trust. Number one. Number two, Team Warsh has an extraordinary campaign going to get Warsh the job. And I know because they're trying to influence me. And believe me, I got no influence who the president's going to pick on the Fed, but they're really trying hard. And he's trying hard. He goes on TV every day. And everybody knows the president wants people who are good on TV. I don't think he's that good on TV. That's like a sidebar. That's not even one of my three reasons. He's okay, but I don't think he's the president's cup of tea on TV. And this campaign of him going on TV and auditioning for the job, etc., I just don't think. I think it's too much. The president doesn't like to be. This president doesn't like people to try to force his hand, right? And then lastly, Warsh is not. I don't think he's MAGA. I don't think he's I don't see what the constituency is for Warsh except for establishment and elite people. And Donald Trump sometimes picks people who the establishment and the elite like, but for this job, it's such a high profile choice. I just don't think his profile is right for what they want, what would satisfy the need to replace Powell. So those are my reasons. But again, if while I'm talking, AP Bulletin, president to put Warsh on the Fed, wouldn't surprise me in the least, because the countervailing to my reasons is, on paper, he's qualified. He's bent over backwards to say, the president, you want me to, cut interest rates and fire all the economists here? Like, he'll do whatever. So he could pick him, but I really don't think he will. That's my answer.
So, two quick things. First of all, today, Andrea Kugler announced that she's going to step down.
Yes, sir.
By the way, I find it in bad taste that the administration is kind of, Trump even sent out a truth saying that, now Powell should resign too. She didn't participate in the Fed meeting 2 days ago for personal reasons, and she's stepping down, which has the rating of health problem all over it. You shouldn't be stomping on a person that might be stepping down for that reason. So that opens up her seat next week.
Yes, sir.
Trump could put somebody in place before the next Fed meeting in September. Do you think he'll do that?
You don't need Senate confirmation?
Well, you do, but he could announce a name in a week, and he could demand the next Fed meeting September 17th, and then demand that the Senate do something quickly about it.
Yeah, given August recess, I don't know that you could get hearings scheduled in time to confirm someone. I mean,
even if it's right after Labor Day.
I mean, it'd be a pretty fast track. It would depend on who it was and whether they'd ever been confirmed before, but I doubt it. I doubt you get someone.
A quick word about Warsh.
Yeah.
Warsh is married to Jane Lauder.
Correct.
Jane Lauder is Ron Lauder's daughter, and Ron Lauder is Donald Trump's oldest friend, who he's known since he was 10 years old. He's known Jane Warsh for 50 years. He attended his wedding 25 years ago. He's got a long history with the guy.
He does, but he's not an intimate of him. And you've just cited the most direct connection, but there are many others. I mean, he's very close to Scott Bessent, I believe.
Yes, he is.
He's got 19 degrees of 1 degree of separation from the president. On paper, he should be, but I'm telling you, the president doesn't have. I mean, there's a reason why they keep having secret meetings, and there's talk of more secret meetings. He doesn't have, as I understand it, he doesn't have like the extreme comfort level with it. But sure, if Lauder demands it, the president loves demand. Bended billionaires on bended knee. It could happen, but again, you got to ask yourself, given that connection, why isn't it automatic? Why is it that he needs to keep meeting with the president? If the Lauder thing is so absolute, he shouldn't need to meet with him ever again. Should just be like, let's get our good friend Kevin in here for the job.
So, two real quick things, and then I'm out. Do you think it's going to be one of the names that everybody's throwing around, or do you think that they're looking for like a completely different name that no one has brought up? And if it is Kevin Warsh, will you wear a Canadian tuxedo on the show?
Not in August. I won't. It's too hot. And I'd have to acquire probably I have jeans, obviously, but I don't think I have a tuxedo, a denim jacket or shirt. Actually, I do have a denim shirt now.
We can chip in and help you with this, because I was this.
We could do a GoFundMe.
I know.
Jacket.
Yeah. I need extra large, just so you know. Jim, I believe currently, my reporting currently is it's Bessent or door number 4. It's neither of the Kevins. It's Bessent or door number 4. That's my current sense.
Bessent today.
You interviewed him today? How'd that go?
Great.
What do you tell you? You got any clips with you?
No,
was it on camera?
You don't have to read the story. It was very interesting, very, very different.
When's it gonna publish?
Next Tuesday.
So it wasn't on camera. It's what you call a print interview.
Yeah, it's what I am. I'm a print girl.
Yeah.
But it was a very fascinating interview. He's also very funny guy.
Yeah, he is a very funny guy. All right, Jim, exit question on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being 0 probability and 10 being ontological certitude, what are the chances that Rahm Emanuel runs for president?
7.5. And if you spend the rest of your life making ontological certitude a popular term, it would be time well spent.
Wrong. The correct answer is unknowable. Unknowable, Jim. Thank you. Salena, what's your view on the Fed? Who's the president going to pick?
this is outside of my realm
Outside
of
your realm.
expertise.
All right.
However,
Yeah.
I will say him and Besant are very close.
Yes.
I rode, I can't believe, it was the first plane ride I've had in 5 years, but I rode on Air Force One with President Trump, obviously, and Scott Bessent was there. And the dynamic between the two of them is really extraordinary, but, and funny. But, you know, I think he really likes Bessent where he is.
Yeah, I do too. I don't really understand why Bessent would switch jobs. Anyway, thank you for the question. Grateful to you. The president on Truth Social, while we've been on the air, too late. That's his nickname for pal. So that's in quotes. Too late, pal should resign, just like Adriana Kugler, a Biden appointee, resigned. She knew he was doing the wrong thing on interest rates. He should resign also. There it is. Lanny, welcome in. Thank you for joining. Tell folks who don't know where you are and your question for #1 New York Times bestselling author, Salena Zito.
I've got 2 questions for her.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm here in Rhode Island, hopefully for a very short time, and I'll be moving to another really blue state, Maryland. But that's not my question. My question is, I was wondering if that is really your kitchen, because that background, first, I've seen you on many, I love you. I've seen you on, I think, on a lot of the shows that you've been on YouTube. And at first I thought it was a background. And now I'm thinking, no, maybe it really is her kitchen. So can you let me know?
Okay, so you're in my dining room, which goes like right into my kitchen.
Okay.
My kitchen is much bigger than my last house, but it's not huge. And cooking is very much a part of my life. If you follow me on social media, you will see me cooking with my grandchildren often. I have four KitchenAids, none of which I paid for. They were all gifts. But yeah, no, this is, and I have a lot of Fiesta ware. You can see the Fiesta ware, which is the last pottery made in America.
I thought that was an old stove behind you, like an old.
Oh, no, that's that is a buffet.
Okay.
And it belonged to, does anybody know who Natalie Merchant is?
Sure.
10,000 Maniacs?
Yeah.
That was her grandfather's.
Yeah. Salena, how old's your house?
Oh, this one is actually new. 1961. My last house was 100 years old.
Didn't the Pirates win the World Series in 1961?
1960.
60.
By the way, my parents took me.
Okay,
So,
I was close. Lanny, you had a second question.
My next question, which is really, you can answer this, Mark, too, but Mark, I know this is one of your issues. I've been incredibly upset about the disinformation about Israel starving all the Palestinians. It's really, really bothered me. So I've been watching like everything. And today, Ambassador Huckabee and, Mr.
Witkoff
went into Gaza.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Fox News had Ambassador Huckabee on to ask what happened, what they saw. Okay.
Yeah.
And he started reporting a lot of what I had heard, that there's been a lot of food going into Gaza, but the Hamas will take it and steal it and then try to sell it for inordinate prices to the Palestinians who can't afford it. And that they're making a lot of money on stealing the food that has been going in from the UN, okay? And then the food that the Americans and the Israelis are trying to get in, Hamas doesn't want that to get in because they don't have control over it. So there was a lot about that. I see the little clip for CNN. Okay, they also are going to report on this. Literally, maybe 10 minutes later, they have a gentleman from UNRWA on there, and basically he's saying the same thing, that Israel is starving the Palestinians, and it's that it was like, you talk about being in two different worlds. All right, I want to know, because this is, somebody is really reporting something wrong. I mean, It's not like it's a bias or this is wrong facts. Can like the people sue the like the CNN because they have the airway, I don't know. I just feel like something has to be done about all the disinformation. It's not even misinformation. It's actual false facts. I mean, how do you, so I would like your opinion.
Yeah.
on that.
A lot of issues there, Lainey. Thank you. Salena.
Hamas has always been really, really good at propaganda, right? Presenting things in a way that glorify not even glorify them, but more vilify Israel.
Right.
And that has been consistent in time. The onus is on us as reporters to cut through that and get to the real story. And I think that there have been a lot of places that have been very negligent in doing that job. That's a hard job. You really, really have to get in there and either prove what they're saying is right or disprove and show why that isn't true. And that is sort of the last chapter in my book is called The Reckoning. And it's about our profession.
I've ordered it. It's not here yet, but
okay. Thank you very much. I deeply appreciate that. And I think that has been the problem with our profession with Mark and I, is that intellectual curiosity, right? That robustness that is demanded of what we do isn't done. And you have to ask, well, is this bias? Is this laziness? Is this a lack of a mature press that understands that is what we're supposed to do? And I suspect it's a little of all three.
Lainey, thank you. Grateful to you for coming on. Thank you for that, Salena. Thank you for that great answer. All right, let's keep rolling through here. Michael, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are and what's on your mind for #1 New York Times bestselling author of the blockbuster hit Butler.
Can you all hear me?
Salena Zito. Yes, sir.
It's going to be made into a movie.
Yes, for coming soon.
This is a question. This is a question. I'm calling from Nashville, Tennessee. This is a question that could easily be directed to as either a journalist or a podcast host. But when you are interviewing somebody for some event or something that's going to be online or on television, and that person says something that's just factually incorrect, as a journalist, do you feel like you should get a correction for them or an explanation for them in real time, or simply let them report what they said and let people hash it out afterwards? I say that because this is something that is extremely frustrating to me, is to watch people all the time be allowed to say things that are 100% factually incorrect without being held to account. And I don't know whether that's something that should bother me or not.
Oh, no, I think it should definitely bother you. I think, so I'm a print journalist, right? Every once in a while, I'm grateful to be on with Mark. However, when I'm doing interviews with people, I'll ask them questions and they'll answer it in their belief, right? Like how they see it. And to your point, may make a statement that is just like wildly wrong, right? And so this is why I take a long time to write. There have been times when I've been burnt, right? And someone's just been wrong and I didn't catch it. But most of the time, whatever they say, I'll then go back and research it, right? And so if they send that and they say this guy is pink, right? Let's just be outrageous, right? Because some people say outrageous things. The sky is pink. And I'll go back and say, well, Mr. Smith said the sky is pink. The truth is the sky is blue. And explain why, right? So that I counter it with the factual scientific information that disproves what he says. But it doesn't mean he didn't say that, right? So, and sometimes people will say things that are so wildly, just so either inappropriate or wildly wrong that I just don't put it in the story.
Michael, let's talk about that was a great answer. Let's talk about the context of live interviews, which I think was the focus you wanted. I'm interviewing you. You say the moon is made of cheese. You say that.
The moon is made of cheese, Mark.
Michael, I need to stop you there, and I don't mean any disrespect, but the moon is actually not made of cheese. Do you want to weigh in on that? I'm confident it's not made of cheese. And then you might say, well, Mark, I know it is, and I have to decide how much of the interview do I want to spend trying to disabuse you of that. And then let's have you say Russia has 17 nuclear subs. So say that.
Russia has 17 nuclear subs, Mark.
So, Michael, I have no idea. I'm thinking now, thought bubble. I have no idea how many nuclear subs Russia has. So maybe there's a producer in my ear saying, well, we just Googled, or one of the people in the control room knows they have 37. Or maybe I Google and I say, okay, Michael's still talking, and I Googled it and they have 37. So now, as I say, well, Michael, a few seconds ago, you just said they have 17. They don't. Or I wait to the end of your answer, or maybe I wait to the end of the segment. Live is very hard. There's a reason why I make so many mistakes on this show. I don't know everything, and live is hard. And you have to think about holding people accountable. In the ideal world, you hold them accountable. If they say something wrong, you know they're wrong, and you respectfully correct them. And I always like to give them a chance to respond. Some of my colleagues will say, Michael, keep going, but you're wrong about that. I don't think that's the right way, unless it's absolute, like unless it's a factual. And sometimes I'll say, well, Michael, you said the moon was made of cheese. I'm certain you know that it's not. Just go on unless you want to correct that. But you can't always do it. You can't always do it. And then the most famous thing like this was in the debate. Candy Crowley was moderating, where she chose to correct Mitt Romney's errors in a pretty aggressive way, and to not correct Barack Obama's errors. So it just I know what the paradigm is. The paradigm is to not let them say something wrong, and to correct them in a respectful way, and to give them an opportunity to respond. But it's very difficult in a live situation always to do it, because you don't know if it's wrong, or because it'd be boring to continue to correct them, or they're saying so many things that are wrong, like you just ruin the show to just say, well, Michael, I need to stop you because you just said 10 things that are wrong. So I know what the paradigm is, and I know what the responsibility is. I'm just telling you, it's not always executable. That's just the reality of live.
So I'm empathetic. What I guess I would say is that anytime, somewhere, there's going to be somebody who knows exactly how many nuclear submarines Russia had in real time, and they're going to hear you not call that person on it, that you accepted at face value that they only have 12 nuclear submarines, and he's going to be PO'd.
Yep, absolutely. It's not ideal. I'll give you an example for today. Does the Durham report say that the Russia related memos seeming to suggest that Hillary Clinton, Team Clinton, purposely or with purpose tried to create confusion and distraction through lies? What does the Durham report say? All day, and we did it in the morning meeting, I've had people say the Durham report says those memos are fake, and I have people tell me the Durham report says no, the preponderance of belief in the intelligence community was they're real. Just during the program, I'm getting texts about this from someone whose opinion I really value. So it's just hard to always have the facts at your hand, and again, unless you want to make the whole show about fighting about facts, sometimes have to just move on. Even though you're right, Michael, some people would see me or some other host move on and say, what kind of hosting is this? What kind of conversation is it? Right. If somebody's out there given a platform to just say false things, that's no show at all. That's a sham of a mockery. But that's just the reality of it. And I'm very sensitive to it. And when I used to work with people like Peter Jennings and George Stephanopoulos, and I was like their anchor producer, I would always want to make sure they knew something was wrong and give them the option. Do you want to correct it? Here's an index card saying, what Michael said about Russian subs is wrong. Up to them to correct it, but it ain't easy. It ain't easy. Michael, thank you. Grateful to you.
Hey, Mark.
Yes, sir.
If Brit Hume says you're the best journalist working today, who is anyone to argue?
No, that's just factual. That's
That's
not an opinion. That's just fact. No, Brit was very nice to me, and I hope everybody who watched my interview with him on Next Up knows how much I respect him. So that was very, very generous of him. Michael, thank you. Grateful to you. Salena, one more time, congratulations on the book. Tell people why they should buy Butler.
Well, it does give a very heart-pounding account of what happened that day, right? And sort of what led to that day in Butler. But it also is a very it makes you understand what's happening in the country right now, and how place is an important factor in why people vote the way they do, and how you know, it was missed during the cycle of that core understanding. And it's also, you know, you will read the countless unbelievable mistakes that that Harris and Waltz and the Harris campaign made in the most important state in the entire country. And it bewildered me. I think I texted you probably 100 times saying, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? I don't understand this. But also it takes a look at our profession through the eyes of several reporters, and where our profession is going. We're in very, very interesting times when a show like yours or Megan's or both Megan's, right, propel a book like mine to the top of the New York Times best-selling list on the same day that Colbert and the entire Late Show is just, you know, going to be disappeared from legacy media. There's something very dynamic and very different going on. I'm not saying one is better, but I would say that one has lost the middle of the country.
Salena, so grateful to you for coming back on, and so excited for you to have such a great success with a phenomenal book. Again, if you haven't bought Butler yet, please do. Let's get her back to #1. Salena, thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay. And thanks to all of you for watching, and Monica and others who raised their hand to ask questions. Thank you for being part of the two-way community. If you haven't watched the latest or listened to the latest episode of Next Up as a podcast or on YouTube, please do. My reported monologue on the Democratic Party 2028 invisible primary is part of that conversation. And then my conversation with Meghan McCain, including about the story Meghan and I are most obsessed with, which is the apparent relationship between Justin Trudeau and Katy Perry, and then my conversation with David Bahnsen about what is exactly going on with the U.S. economy. Take a listen, take a look, and I'll be back 9 a.m. Monday with Sean and Dan for the morning meeting. Thank you all again for being part of Two Way. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.